Hi, I'm Fred Child coming to you from the Ojai Music Festival in Ojai, California. It's day 3 of the 2014 Ojai Music Festival, coming to you from the Libby Bowl in Ojai. And we're now into the full-on immersion phase of the 2014 Ojai Music Festival. This event right now is the third of 10 events today on this Saturday. Music got underway at 8 o'clock this morning with the concert by the string quartet Brooklyn Rider, and events are going all the way until 1 o'clock in the morning today. Many of these, not every single event today, but many of these are being webcast right here where you're watching, including a 6 o'clock concert tonight. That's 6 o'clock Pacific time. Timo Andrus, American composer and pianist Timo Andrus, will play his recomposition of Mozart's Coronation Concerto. That's at 6 p.m. Pacific time. And then at 8 p.m. Pacific, the Knights will be back. Colin Jacobson, Eric Jacobson, and the Knights doing music by Boccherini and Stockhausen and Morton Feldman and more. That's 8 p.m. Pacific time. There's also a late night concert, a 10:30 concert Pacific time from the Libby Bowl here. So lots of webcasts all day long from here at the Libby Bowl. We're about to see music by Charles Ives, played for us by pianist Jeremy Denk, who's also the music director of the 2014 Ojai Music Festival, and violinist Jennifer Frautschi. And they will play the 4 violin sonatas by Charles Ives. And mixed in with those sonatas will be a set of New England hymns and songs that would have been very familiar and very important to Charles Ives growing up in New England in the late 1800s. And Jeremy will tell you more about that from stage here in just a moment. But before we get to that, I wanted to tell you a little bit about where we are here in Ojai, California. This is a town of about 7,000 people. We're about 80 miles or so north and west of Los Angeles, and we're nestled in this beautiful valley, the Ojai Valley. It's about 10 miles long, about 3 miles wide. It's unusual in that it runs east-west, an east-west running valley. And if you eat strawberries or avocados, there's a very good chance that those strawberries and avocados come from right here in the Ojai Valley. There's a long history of art and music and spiritual pursuits here in Ojai, including the Ojai Music Festival, which goes all the way back to 1947. This year's festival is the 67th Ojai Music Festival. It was originally conceived as a big 6 or 8 week festival every year. They thought maybe it would be the Salzburg of the West. Right after World War II, it came together for the first time in 1947. It's turned into an intense 4-day festival instead of 6 or 8 weeks every year. And the history of 20th century music is very tied up with the Ojai Festival. Folks like Igor Stravinsky and Aaron Copland and Olivier Messiaen all have been right here at the Ojai Festival. One of the things that distinguishes the festival is there's a different music director every year. And that's often been composers or conductors. Aaron Copland, Stravinsky, Olivier Messiaen, Sir Simon Rattle, Michael Tilson Thomas, Robert Spano, Kent Nagano, but also instrumentalists have been music directors here. That's the case this year with pianist Jeremy Denk. 2 years ago, it was Leif Ove Ansnes, Mitsuko Uchida has done it, Emmanuel Axe has done it, but also interesting other choices too. Ensembles have sometimes done it, the Emerson String Quartet or Eighth Blackbird, and last year it was a choreographer. Mark Morris was the music director of the 2013 Ojai Music Festival. So that's just a little bit of context for what happens here every second weekend in June at the Ojai Music Festival. I mentioned that this is the third of 10 events during this day. The folks who are streaming into the Libby Bowl right now, many of them come to every single event. There are 30 events over the course of the 4-day festival, so they're already well into this day. Even though it's only 11 o'clock in the morning here at Pacific Time Zone, they've been seeing music since 8 o'clock this morning. There was on the tennis courts that are just to my right, Jennifer Frautschi did a little concert talk beginning at 10 o'clock. So this is event number 3. Lots more events on the way. Oh, and by the way, I mentioned that Timo Andrus, American pianist and composer Timo Andrus, will be doing the 6 o'clock concert tonight, playing his really interesting recomposition of a Mozart concerto. Timo will be joining me right here during intermission of this concert. He and I will talk about that Mozart concerto, and we'll also talk about his experience here at the Ojai Music Festival. So lots more on the way. I'm going to get out of the way here in just a moment because folks are coming in and taking their seats. In just a moment, Jeremy Denk and Jennifer Frautschi will take the stage. Jeremy will talk a little bit bit about what he's doing. It's a program that he's calling Dad's World. It's not only about Charles Ives, but about Charles Ives' father, who, well, of course, every father is important in the life of every son, but Mr. Ives was especially important in the musical development of Charles Ives. And Jeremy will talk about that from stage. And by the way, it just so happens that Jeremy Denk's father is here at the Ojai Music Festival. So there's a kind of triple resonance here. Not only is the program called Dad's World, but it's Father's Day weekend 2014, and Jeremy's dad is here taking this all in as well. So music by Charles Ives on the way from Jeremy Denk and Jennifer Frautschi, and the incredible male vocal quartet Hudson Shad, led by Wilbur Pauley, too. So that's all coming up in just a moment, and I'll turn it over to Jeremy Denk, who will take the stage in just a minute or two. Oh, one more thing. Lots of tweeting going on around the festival, too, so use the hashtag, pardon me, OMF 2014. Hashtag OMF 2014 for your tweets about the Ojai Music Festival. Enjoy, and I'll see you again at intermission.
And welcome to Ives Mania. Normally, these pieces aren't performed with vocal quartet, but of course these pieces have their Ivesian crashes and chaos moments, but they're maybe more than any other Ives pieces songful and hymnic at their core, and most of them reach climaxes on certain hymns, and some of these hymns are present to us still today and some of them are not. So I thought it would be so nice to have the actual congregation here. And yes, we're not going to have any hymn before the first sonata that we play, which is actually the fourth. The fourth is a Children's Day at the Camp meeting. Camp meeting, of course, a kind of a weekend religious / social retreat from Ives' youth around Danbury, New England kind of thing. And there was always one day reserved for the kids to have a religious experience. And of course, they're not always patient with the proceedings, so they get boisterous and wild, and that happens in every one of the movements. The first movement is an actual experience, apparently, that Ives heard, where the boys were getting going on a marching hymn. And meanwhile, one of the kids was at the organ practicing his Bach fugues and his piano lessons. And you'll hear those, he said there's a great line about, as is often the case, the people with the best voices and the loudest voices sing the most wrong notes. And then the second movement is more serious kind of reflection on a hymn, but in the middle, the boys get impatient and the pastor lets them out to throw rocks at the brook. And that is entitled Allegro con Sluggerocco. And then the last movement is slowly unfolding from sort of fragments, a pretty wild version of Shall We Gather at the River. Oh, and then before the third sonata, there's two songs. We're going to hear Beulah Land first, and then the really important hymn of that sonata, the third sonata, is I Need Thee Every Hour.
sweet communion here have we. Each gently leads me by his hand, for this is heaven's borderland. Oh, Beulah land, sweet Beulah land, as on thy highest mount I stand, I look away across
Fred Child. It's intermission time here at the 2014 Ojai Music Festival. We're in the middle of a concert of music by Charles Ives, pianist Jeremy Denk, who's also music director of the 2014 Ojai Music Festival, and violinist Jennifer Frautschi, and the vocal quartet Hudson, Shad. We'll be back with more music by Charles Ives in just a few minutes. Timo Andrus, American composer and pianist, is joining me, and I'll talk with Timo here in just a second, but we've had a few questions about archives of these live webcasts, and all of the live webcasts that we've done so far are archived. As you're watching the screen right now, on the lower right-hand corner of the screen, right down here somewhere, there should be a little button that says Ustream. Click on that, and that'll take you right to the archives, including Jeremy Denk and Stephen Stuckey's opera of sorts that got its world premiere last night. Timo, you've got a piece coming up tonight on the 6 p.m. concert, and I want to talk to you about that. But first, we're listening to music by Charles Ives. You grew up in Connecticut.
I did.
And went to school at Yale. So is there a connection? Do you have a Connecticut connection with Charles Ives?
You know, the connection goes pretty far back. I had a CD of the Concord Sonata when I was growing up. It was when I was a kid. And I kind of liked it in the way that, you know, like a rebellious kid likes something that is really weird.
Because it's pretty weird in some ways.
Yeah. I mean, like if you're going to like jump into Ives, maybe the Concord Sonata is like not the best place to start. But
a huge, massive, multi-movement, hour-long solo
just, like,
piano sonata.
A lot of it is Ives at his sort of most like combative. But then when I was 16 or so, I got it into my head that I wanted to learn to play it. And I think part of it was this sort of like teenage piano jock mentality of like, I'm gonna play the biggest, loudest, hardest thing that I know of. And like Prokofiev was no longer doing it for me.
Prokofiev and Busoni and Ives.
So I mean, I learned it over the course of a year and actually performed it a bunch. And I don't think I knew starting out how influential that would be. Like how, because then like I went down the Ives wormhole. And he's just like, he's the best composer. He's just kind of the best composer. Whenever I'm listening to one of my favorite Ives pieces, it's like.
So in a nutshell, what makes him the best composer?
I was thinking, I just sort of stream of consciousness listening to the first half of this concert. It's like a lot of elements of like early modernism, of like Bartók and Debussy, and even like Wagner and Mahler. Like they're all sort of lumped together in Ives. I think it's like everything is constantly, like it's extremely complex the way it's put together. And you wouldn't necessarily get that sense from listening. I mean, especially like
not from a first listen.
Especially a performance like that, which is so good. It's
Jeremy
these are
and
two spectacular musicians, and I think we're really hearing them at their best.
Yeah.
It's like I don't know. I just feel like they were made to play that music. But
and we've got more Ives on. Sorry. Go ahead.
Like every phrase is leading in an unexpected direction, and they're constantly being sort of subverted by each other and undercut and jump cut. And I mean, Jeremy has such an innate sense of like the drama of the individual phrase, and I think you get that from everything he plays. But it just comes to the forefront.
And even with all that drama and all that muscularity in places, so touching and tender in other
right, I mean,
places
that's the
too.
thing is like, somehow, I mean, I guess Ives got this reputation of being this sort of really, like hyper combative, like loud, dissonant guy. And there certainly are those moments, but he also just like wrote some of the most beautiful music, like purely beautiful music. I mean, like the second violin sonata, which we're about to hear, is just like, that piece brings me to tears, like reliably in two places, like two specific places.
We'll make sure you have Kleenex for the second half of the concert. And I love that Hudson Shad is here, and we'll actually get more hymns and songs in the second half of the concert.
Yeah, and that's like a very inspired bit of programming, I have to say.
We just have a couple minutes, but I want to make sure that we talk about your piece that's coming up at the 6 p.m. and that 6 p.m. Pacific time concert tonight from the Ojai Music Festival, from this very stage at the Libby Bowl. It's your recomposition of Mozart's Piano Concerto Number 26 in D major.
Right.
Now, this is a piece that Mozart wrote very quickly, and as he often did, he played the piano part the first time. So he didn't have to write everything out for himself, and a lot of the left-hand part is missing in Mozart's original manuscript. So what did you do with that?
I actually wrote an entirely new left hand that is kind of a superimposition of a lot of different styles of music on top of the Mozart. And so it kind of, I guess you could say in a little bit of an Ivesian way, it's a little bit of an assemblage of all the different music that has influenced me and sort of all the different sort of history of the piano concerto following Mozart. There's a lot of that in there, and it's funny because it's all Mozart except for the left hand of the piano part.
Right.
Yet it's like
the orchestra part is the same.
The orchestra part is identical.
The right hand
They're playing
part is the
from
same.
the Barenreiter edition.
Yeah.
Which is like
so everything is Mozart except the left hand on the piano, which is all you.
Right, but which completely changes the entire piece. It's like a
and
totally
the very
different
beginning,
piece.
it's a little bit shocking because the orchestra has several minutes on their own at the beginning.
I think that is actually the strangest moment of it, is when you have like 3 minutes of orchestra music, that's Mozart, and then I come in.
And the right hand is Mozart's, and the left hand is in a different key.
Or it sort of alters the harmonic structure a lot of the time.
Yes.
I mean, it's not totally random by any means. It takes Mozart's themes and kind of Mozartian figurations and takes them in directions that would never have been within the classical style.
And this is what I love about this piece, is the left hand is not random jumbled noises. Everything is there for a reason. As you said, there are lots of Mozart figurations that wouldn't have been done this way in 1789, but there are also references to later composers along the way too. So what are some of the other references?
I mean, any big piano concerto that you can think of. In particular, there's a moment in actually the way that I harmonize the theme of the last movement is a reference to the last movement of Brahms' first concerto. I take the left-hand figuration and just make it major. And if you're listening to that, you'll definitely get it.
And I love the demonic laugh that when you describe that too, because that's kind of the sense in the music.
There's definitely it's in a spirit of fun and sort of playing with this pile of music history that I'm sitting on top of, and yeah.
All right, that's coming up at the 6 p.m. Pacific Time concert. Timo Andrus will be at the piano with the Knights, is it?
The Knights,
with the Knights to
Eric
play.
Jacobson, conductor.
Eric Jacobson conducting to play his recomposition of Mozart's Coronation Concerto. 6 p.m. Pacific. You can watch it and hear it live right here. Once again, tweeting with the hashtag OMF, I almost want to say OMG. It's not OMG, it's OMF 2014, hashtag OMF 2014. All these concerts from the Libby Bowl all weekend long coming to you live right here from the Ojai Music Festival. Timo Andrus, thank you very much.
And one final sonata, the first, perhaps the most complicated and the most dependent on its tunes. So we're going to have them sing before each movement the relevant tune. Before the first movement, Shining Shore. I remember that, right? Yeah, and there's some very strange and bizarre variations on Shining Shore then in the sonata, which then eventually, as always happens in Ives, the tune kind of bursts out. It's an incredibly witty and unusual first movement. And then the second movement is all about sort of Civil War reminiscences, and so they're going to sing then before the second movement the two tunes, Tramp, 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 and The Old Oaken Bucket. And then there's a kind of an amazing Ivesian treatment of these two tunes, the sort of nostalgia and sadness of the Civil War veterans. And then before the last movement, Work for the Night is Coming. And there's a very extended, deranged piano cadenza on this march hymn. And the violinist has to sit there for a long time waiting. But then there's a glorious, moment after all the marching and all the chaotic events and everything Ivesian is thrown, everything but the kitchen sink is thrown in. At last, the tune reemerges in this kind of amazing, kind of gospel climax. So, the first sonata of Ives.
My days are gliding swiftly by, and I, a pilgrim stranger, would not detain them as they fly, those hours of toil and danger. For oh, we stand on Jordan's strand, our friends are passing over, and just before the shining shore, we may almost discover. The battlefront we stood when their fiercest charge they made, and they swept us of 100 men or more. But before we reached their lines, they were beaten back dismayed, and we heard the cry of victory o'er and o'er. Tramp, 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 the boys are marching on. Oh, cheer up, comrades, they will come, and beneath the starry flag we shall breathe the air again of the free land in our own beloved home. How dear to this heart are the scenes of my childhood, when fond recollection presents them to view. The orchard, the meadow, the deep tangled wildwood, and every loved spot which my infancy knew. The wide spreading pond and the mill that stood by it, the bridge and the rock where the cataract fell, the cot of my father, the dairy house nigh it, and even the rude bucket that hung in the well. The old oaken bucket, the iron-bound bucket, the moss-covered bucket that hung in the well. Thank you.